Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're watching us from. My name is Svetelina or Lina from SRT, and I have the pleasure today to be hosting Study STEM webinar with three amazing universities from Europe. We have with us today Lorraine and Irena from UWI Bristol. We have Timothy from Essex or Tim, and Miguel from IE in Spain. So today's webinar will be approximately hour and 15 minutes. And we will go over the different advantages of studying STEM programs, what are the different careers, what are the different job opportunities with the STEM degree, and then we will go over the three individual presentations of the universities. You can interact with us in the chat. I see some of you have already located it. It's on the right-hand side of your screen. This is where you can also download the brochures of the universities. So talk to us there, send us your questions. We'll be answering, and then whatever we couldn't answer during the webinar, we will answer after everyone's presentation. I see some familiar faces like Sarah, for example, Mitchell. Really nice to see you guys again. I hope you enjoy. And now I'm going to pass the words to our esteemed presenters who are going to talk to you a little bit why STEM. And I'll see you in a bit. So welcome everyone and thanks for joining.
All right, thank you so much, Sveti, for the kind introduction. So now in this general presentation, what I'd like to do is to talk to you guys about the tech revolution that we're going through, and this will serve as an introduction of why it's a good idea to study any field any program within the STEM field, right? So first of all, in order to get started, I'd like to give you a little bit of background of where we're standing today. So as you've probably heard already in the news or in any articles or magazines, we're going through a fourth industrial revolution. But just as a quick background, what were the first ones? So the first one that happened during the mid-18th century until the mid-19th was the beginning of mass production, right? That took place, that started in the United Kingdom, through the use of the steam engine, the air and textile boom. The second one was mainly changed by the introduction and the use of electricity and many new technologies such as the telephone, oil, steel were used, then again, mostly for industrial production. The third industrial revolution, which many of you might probably be familiar with, is the one where the internet was introduced, right? So the beginning of the digital era, where people started using computers at work, at home, where we started communicating differently, right, through technology. And now, currently, we are in our fourth industrial revolution, which is basically the one in which we are merging the real world with the digital world. And it is precisely in this fourth industrial revolution that I'd like to talk to you guys about. So here you see some of the names that I'll briefly explain what they mean. And what I'd like to do is to explain what are the components or the items of this fourth industrial revolution. How is this industrial revolution shaped? So basically here you see some of the main different items that compose it. And I will explain each one of them, and then I'll give you some real life examples that you're already interacting with. So the first item that is part of this technological revolution, this fourth industrial revolution, is quantum computing. So what does this mean? Quantum computing is basically the capacity to store more and more data, right? So there are now some supercomputers that are able to stock as much data. I'm sure you've probably seen in the news some data that says that in the past 2 years, we've produced more data than we had produced in the previous 100 years. So because of the era of technology that we're living in, it means that we're producing more and more information, and we need stronger computers that are able to process and stock that information. And quantum computing is here to make this possible. The second item that is part of this fourth item revolution is 5G. And I'm sure that many of you have heard of this. You probably know that in China, this is already a reality. It's going to be implemented all through Europe and the US very soon. Basically, it's about attaining or reaching a higher speed in terms of the transfer of information, right? So we'll be able to stock more information and to exchange information faster. The third one is one that I'm also sure you've already heard of, which is big data. So big data is processing power. It's getting insights. So if we're stocking more data, we will also need to have the capability or the capacity to be able to understand this data, to refine it, and or to do some data mining to actually be able to produce an outcome and to gather some insights out of all this data. And this is what big data is here for. The fourth point, or the first item, is automation. And this is very simple. It's basically that many things are going to be done by robots instead of by humans. Similarly, the Internet of Things is about putting internet on things that already exist. I'm going to give some examples later, but one that I'm sure many of you have already interacted with is Alexa from Amazon, or the Google machine where you can just talk to them, right? So it's a machine where you have implemented internet and you can communicate with that machine. And finally, this digitalization process that we're going through is going to require us to become much more aware of the importance of cybersecurity, right? Most of our data, of our personal data, is going to be stored online, not only ours, but also our companies and the companies that we work for, our universities, schools, right? So we need to be aware and of the dangers that this mass digitalization entails. So now let's move on. I'll give you some examples or applications of these items that I just described. The first one is probably one example that you've already heard of. This is a Tesla car that basically is analyzing what are the elements that are around the car. So you can see how the car can detect what an SUV is, what is a passenger car or a police. In fact, the technology for driverless cars is already available, but it hasn't been implemented yet because of legislation, and mostly because it poses some ethical concerns. So imagine that the car needs to choose between, when confronted to an accident, that the car knows the accident is going to happen. Imagine the car needs to choose between preserving the life of the driver or those people who are inside the car and those who are outside. How should the car choose? Because of these type of things, this technology hasn't been implemented yet, but it already exists. How was this application or this technology possible? Well, I'm sure you've all seen those clicks on these sort of the squares that you need to click, where they're asking you to, here in this case, it's to select the street signs, right? So basically, every single time that you're clicking on these signs, you were training the machine to recognize what was a sign. Or in fact, you're probably familiar with these CAPTCHAs. You've been training computers for a very long time how to recognize certain words. And that is actually AI learning, right? So you're teaching a machine to think like a human and to recognize that are things that come from humans. Now let's move on. Before we move on to the next application, I just wanted to show you, I thought this picture was pretty cool, how some of the cars of the future might look. So you can, just be in your car working, or maybe, playing a video game where you just get to your destination. Another example. So this is how mail is distributed in China. As you see, the person that is there to deliver the mail doesn't exist anymore. Instead, it's a robot that just delivers it to your house. So this is done actually through data science and also artificial intelligence, once again. The use of robotics, like I said, robotics is going to be implemented and more important in society. So you can think of, for example, people who are not able to walk and that might use the assistance of a machine. So I know this probably doesn't tell you anything, but to me, this was the most, the craziest examples of all. So if you want to know what this is the data system that South Korea used to track COVID infections. So you can see that these green dots, the big green dot that shines the most, was the first person infected by COVID-19 in South Korea. And then through a digital platform, they were able to track all the people that were related to him or that had interacted with this person, right? So that's how actually South Korea managed to limit or track down all the infections of the coronavirus at the beginning of the pandemic. So this is also something that you can do through the use of big data and by being able to refine this information. All right, so very briefly, and then I'll finish off my part. I'll give you two quick implications of all of these items that compose the fourth industrial revolution. One of them is that basically the rate of automation of jobs is going to increase during the next years. As you can see, in 4 years' time, by 2025, more than half of the jobs that we have today will be automated. Now, does that mean that we won't have to work ever again, or that humans are going to become useless? Well, the answer, don't worry, is no. And here you can see, so this is some data that was issued by the World Economic Forum that shows that basically we'll have to learn new skills and we'll have to learn different jobs, right? Basically, all these jobs that can be done by a robot will be done by a robot. So I'd like you to briefly take a look at some of the skills that are growing, that will be growing, and that will be on demand by employers next year. And if you take a look at them, so it says analytical thinking, active learning, creativity, technology design, critical thinking, all of those are soft skills. It's things that machine cannot do. So let me give you a very brief example. You will not be asked in your next job to compute what is the earnings of our company, because you will have plenty of accounting systems that will tell you that. However, something that the company will be interested in is for someone who is going to be able to showcase in a visual and effective manner what have been the profits of the company. How can you set up the computer to actually make these calculations more efficiently or in a more visual friendly manner? So these, you can also see some of the top 10 emerging jobs, and you can see that data analysts and scientists, which are at the core of the STEM field, are going to be some of the top emerging jobs. But you also see AI and machine learning specialists, agile and operation managers. So basically new skills that you guys will need to learn how to use and implement. And now I'd like to leave it on to one of my colleagues so that we go a bit more in depth onto what are some of the actual degrees that can prepare you, to get these skills and therefore be more prepared for the future labor market.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Miguel. I felt that I learned an awful lot from those slides as well. So thank you for that comprehensive introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Tim. I'm the International Officer for North America at the University of Essex. And over the next couple of slides, I'm really going to kind of give you more information from the university perspective as to the different types of degrees that we offer, the professional opportunities involved, and things like length of course. Now, as you're most likely very aware as you're tuning into this session, the term STEM is usually applied to loosely described areas that directly relate to the hard sciences, right? So it's programs in science, technology, engineering, mathematics. As Miguel has just mentioned, these areas are the ones which are seeing a huge rise in terms of popularity and in terms of demand in the employment market. I've included on the right-hand side of this slide a very general list of course areas which students can explore. Now, this list is by no means kind of comprehensive. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of different routes from these different types of degrees. So, for example, if we look at something like biology, as a sort of a very general term, and there are university courses in the field of straight biology, but you also have things like biomedical science, marine biology, biological engineering, etc. Similarly with something like computer science. Within computer science, you have things like AI and software engineering, computer game design. This is by no means an exhaustive list, but it gives you an idea of the range of different subjects which are included under the STEM bracket. With the vast majority of the degrees, they can be seen as essentially vocational degrees in that they lead students towards particular career paths in their given area, when compared with humanities or social sciences degrees. Not to detract away from those, I myself studied a social science degree, but they may have a less clearly defined career path following graduation, whereas STEM degrees tend to channel students' focus and interest in a particular professional path. In terms of the length of degree, it varies upon where you you study. So I myself work a lot in North America. So I work with US universities and Canadian universities, most of which are 4 years in duration. There's a general ed component, and students take a major and a minor. So often if they look for a STEM specialization, they might need to look towards graduate school. Whereas in UK and the vast majority of Europe, we have what's known as an early degree specialism. So students can focus on one given area from the start of their course. So typically for UK degrees, that is to say English, Welsh and Northern Irish degrees, Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Engineering degrees are usually 3 years in duration. In Scotland, degrees tend to be 4 years in duration. Now, there are many exceptions to this rule, and it's not like a clear rule of thumb, but generally speaking, in most of the constituent parts of the UK, degrees are 3 years in duration. Now, it's very common, and you'll be seeing on the next slide, for students to be choosing a year in industry as part of their degree. So this would add an additional year onto the study, or they may take an integrated master's. So for example, a lot of engineering bachelor's degrees have the option of taking a 4-year program integrated MEng, Master of Engineering course. And in other European destinations, degrees can be between 3 to 4 years. So there is a variance there, but this is typically what you can expect when looking to study STEM degrees in Europe. Now, from the UK's perspective, and certainly from the University of Essex's perspective, you can spend your 3rd year on placement with an external organisation. So students from the University of Essex, our last year's graduating cohort, have been taking placements with Microsoft and IBM and Intel, just to name a few companies. As part of their degree, and more often than not, the year in industries or the years in industries that our students are taking are usually paid positions. So the learning outcomes associated with these programs focus on the specialist technical skills acquired in the first 2 years, so the academic competencies which you've developed, and developing communication skills with customers. It's important to know that in the UK and across Europe, there is currently a skills shortage. So there's an insufficient supply of graduates from upper secondary and higher education institutions to meet the increasing demand for the careers which Miguel had mentioned a couple of slides ago, meaning that the prospects, or the career prospects for STEM graduates, are really strong. It's also worth noting that many STEM degrees also carry opportunities for professional accreditation, or at least to fulfill the academic requirement of a given professional accreditation. Now, these vary greatly by country and also by type of degree. So I wouldn't be able to go into a full list of the different accreditations that are available. For example, in the UK, the Engineering Council tends to accredit the academic part of a majority of engineering degrees in the UK. So in order to gain an accreditation, candidates would need to demonstrate that they're professionally competent through education, training and professional practice. And the degree courses will often fit the academic requirement for registration to a given professional body. So be sure when you are looking at engineering courses, or looking at STEM courses, I should say, to not be afraid to reach out to international offices and universities in order to see what accreditations your future degree will carry. That is everything from myself. So I will pass over to my colleague from UW Bristol for further information.
Thanks very much, Tim. So, hi everyone, my name is Lorraine and I am the Regional Manager for Europe at the University of the West of England in Bristol. So my part of the presentation, I'm going to keep it as short as possible because I want to give you enough time to have all your questions answered, is going to look at the employability, the careers that may be open to you if you do have a degree in STEM, and where potentially STEM is headed in the future. It's quite a lot to cover. So like I say, I'm going to try and keep that short. So I think what both Miguel and Tim have demonstrated in both of their presentations is that STEM graduates are incredibly employable. They have gone on to work in all sorts of different industries, but also there may be things that you really haven't thought of that may be a potential industry for you to work in. And so what I'm doing here is just giving you an idea of where some of our graduates have gone on to secure employment. So these are mostly our mechanical students have secured positions in all sorts of industries. Our aerospace students have gone on to work for these companies. and automotive graduates have gone on to work for these companies. So some of that is very, very obvious. But obviously STEM covers a wide range of careers, a wide range of areas. And one thing I do want to show you is, I know this slide isn't very good, so I'm just going to try and do something technical and share my screen and show you, hopefully. You will be able to see shortly this slide. So this gives you an idea of 100 jobs, so only 100. I mean, there are many, many more, but it just focuses on 100 different jobs in the STEM arena. So you can see all sorts of things there, from climate engineer to sound effects engineer, stadium designers, there's careers in robotics, careers in genetics, all sorts of things. Some of them you may not even know what they are. So one of your tasks afterwards is perhaps to go and Google them and find out a little bit more about them. And I'm just going to give you a little bit more time to have a look through some of those careers and also think about where we might be headed. So, things have changed, as Miguel has said, vastly over the last few years, and change seems to be happening much more rapidly. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and come back to the presentation room. And hopefully my presentation will come back if Svetlana. Brilliant, thank you. So have a think about the jobs that I showed on the screen there. What do you like the sound of most? What do you want to find out more about? Think about the jobs that may not have existed 10 years ago and how far we've come and the changes that have been made. But also start having to think about what might be there in the future. Miguel has talked about driverless cars and things like that. Those are on the horizon. But have a think about what may be happening, in the not too distant future when you may be sort of graduating and looking at the job market. So there are some great case studies to read on that link that is at the bottom of the screen there, where you can read about what various people have done in various industries and, the types of degrees that they had to have in order to get the job that they're doing today. So, this presentation is really about sparking your interest and getting you to find out more about what you might be able to do with a career in STEM. I am going to leave it there and we're going to move on to the next part of the presentations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. I've just posted that link in the chat, and I see already a lot of you are interacting with us, so that's wonderful. And whenever our presenters are not on the spot, they will be able to take some of your questions. There was one that just came through from Michelle, asking if mechatronics is a degree that has future in the STEM field. So I think the question is like, is that part of the STEM studies, and what would be a future career? So let's make sure we talk about that. And now I'm going to invite Irena and Lorraine to support us with more information on UWI Bristol programs in the STEM field. Welcome back, Lorraine, and welcome, Irena.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so I've been joined by Irina, who's our International Recruitment Manager for our Faculty of Environment and Technology. We're just going to give you a brief presentation about UWE and about our programs. So we pride ourselves on being the university that prepares you for the real world. And by this, we mean that we are giving students lots and lots of real world experiences. Students will have access to state-of-the-art industry standard equipment in whatever degree that they take part in. And that is then reflected in our employability figures. So to give you a little bit more of an idea about UWE, we are TEF Gold rated, which is the teaching excellence framework. We are 21st in the UK in the Guardian University Guide for 2021. We are top 20 for graduate employability, and there's different ways of looking at the stats. There are two main surveys that are done on this, one 6 months after graduation, one 15 months after graduation, and depending on how you split the students up and look at different programs and things like that. But overall average is 92% of graduates in work or further study 15 months after graduation. We're second in England for student satisfaction in the latest NSS, the National Student Survey, and we have entered the top 500 in the World University Rankings. So I'm now going to hand over to Irina.
Thank you, Lorraine, and thank you for the nice introduction. So talking about enterprise and employability in STEM subjects, I want to revisit some stats because actually for our international students, it's even higher percentage of students who are in employment or further study 6 months after graduation. It's 94% at UWE Bristol. So how do we actually achieve this? First of all, it's due to our focus on employability skills and employer engagement. We work with over 2,000 employers in the UK and abroad. We also ensure that all our students have some sort of exposure to some sort of practical element within their studies. So whether it's placement, internships, or work-based projects. And we have excellent facilities that we ensure our students have access to. For example, on our main campus at Franchise campus, we have Bristol Robotics Laboratory, BRL. So you will have the opportunity to work alongside world-class researchers from one of Europe's largest robotics labs. Research areas vary a lot, and some of the pictures here you can see there's nuclear decommissioning, human-robot interaction, driverless cars, which we already mentioned earlier in one of the presentations, assisted living, neurorobotics, artificial intelligence, and a lot more. Another facility which our students have access to is the Foundry. It's a new facility funded by the Institute of Coding. It equips students with vital digital skills and ensure that they're ready for the workplace. The Foundry hosts enterprise studios. That's where our students can work with industry partners on paid projects that fit around their studies. EngWest provides opportunities for paid short-term internships for engineering students. So again, they can work on consultancy projects supervised by academics and industry. We also have University Enterprise Zone at UWE Bristol. It provides opportunities and outstanding spaces for graduate entrepreneurs, new startups, fast-growing businesses, and cooperative research in different areas. And it hosts Future Space. You can see some photos on the bottom. Future Space, Launch Space, Health Tech Hub, Robotics Innovation Facility, and BRL Incubator. And the photo in the middle, there is one of our graduates of MSc Robotics, Silas, holding a robot on his shoulder. So Silas actually had a physical space in the Future Space in the University Enterprise Zone when he started his company, Reach Robotics, which created the augmented reality gaming robot Mechamon, which you can see here. And finally, I also want to mention GradLink. So UWE is the home of GradLink, the award-winning careers site and the only careers site for UK educated international students. So you can research global graduate job markets, prepare your CV, and connect with global employers all over the world. I am also very excited to share some very exciting news with you. This year we have opened a new engineering building at UWE Bristol. So you can see here some pictures from outside and inside. Our new engineering building hosts state-of-the-art facilities, including composite engineering, 3D prototyping, digital gallery, VR simulation, engine test cells, wind tunnels, and so on. And another thing which is unique for our university is that it's been designed hand in hand with our vibrant new practice-based curriculum. So practice-based learning is at the heart of studying at UWE Bristol with hands-on live industrial and research projects. In fact, in the final year, students spend 50% of their time working on their projects. And now moving on to our STEM subjects. So for undergraduate students, we offer a wide range of subjects in engineering, such as mechanical, automotive, civil, aerospace, plus pilot studies, electronic, robotics, architecture, and environmental engineering. All of these degrees are 3 years. However, for engineering degrees, we also offer an integrated master's, a MEng, which would mean that you would spend 4 years, but it will include a master's. Apart from the last 2 programs, we have a MEng version for all of these programs for engineering. Architecture and environmental engineering, I want to just mention this separately because it's a 4-year degree. So this is the only degree listed on this slide, which is 4 years, because this is a dual degree. So basically, for the price of one, you get 2 different qualifications, an architect and an engineer, and it's a unique degree in the UK. For computing, we offer computer science, business computing, software engineering, IT, ITMB, cybersecurity, and digital forensics. And I just want to highlight for BSc Computer Science, for example, we offer 1 degree, but 3 pathways to specialist learning in computer science or smart devices or artificial intelligence. Creative technologies, we offer undergraduate degrees in games technology, audio and music technology, digital media, product design technology. In applied sciences, you can come to us to study biological or biomedical science, forensic science, environmental science, and you can also come to study mathematics at UWE Bristol. And moving on to postgraduate courses, we offer a wide range of postgraduate courses. One of our most popular courses is probably MSc Robotics. We get loads of international students from all over the world on this course. And this is a dual degree with University of Bristol. So students get degrees from 2 universities, UWE Bristol and the University of Bristol. Other very popular programs are MSc in cybersecurity, MSc data science, financial technology, health technology. So some of these have been mentioned by my colleagues previously in this webinar. They're getting more and more popular, so we get loads of applications for this. We also offer information technology, information management, some engineering programs like civil engineering or engineering management, facade engineering, and MSc in biomedical science and forensic science. And finally, as I mentioned, practical element in study is really important, and we pay a lot of attention. We ensure that our students have an opportunity for placements, internships, trips. So like Essex University, I think Tim mentioned about the placement year in his presentation. So we also offer placement year, which is optional in year 3. So students do year 1 and year 2 at UWE Bristol. Then they go on industry placement for a year, and then they come back and complete their studies in year 4. Unless they take master MEng in engineering, then it'll be 5-year degree. So in the past, our engineering students worked at German Space Agency, Rolls-Royce, Airbus, Nokia, Nissan and Vauxhall, and many other companies. Computing students had their placements at Hewlett-Packard, Zircon Software Limited, Intel, Ministry of Defense, Microsoft, IBM, and CERN in Switzerland. In fact, CERN in Switzerland runs a yearly competition, and one of our students won the competition. So the prize was the placement year. So he had a great year in Switzerland working at CERN. For students who study applied sciences, our past students went to work at GlaxoSmithKline, Novartis, government laboratories, hospital pathology, and university research centers. In addition, we also offer short-term internships and summer placements. For example, our students who study BSc Games Technology, they can have a placement in our in-house studio, Play West. And for postgraduate students, there are also opportunities for internships and placements, and they also work on live work-based projects in real-world industry settings and on research projects. For example, one of our former MSc cybersecurity students worked at GCHQ during the summer, and he actually submitted his final project instead of the dissertation, which was based around his work placement at GCHQ. He got really high marks for that. And of course, Bristol Robotics Laboratory for MSc Robotics students has a lot of research opportunities. We also offer field trips and expeditions, for example, Airbus in Toulouse and Bremen, National Composite Center, Our biosciences students in the past went on an expedition to Madagascar and Cuba, and we highly promote different competitions and different events that our students are highly encouraged to take part in. So, for example, our robotics students took part in the healthcare engineering and assistive robotics technology and services competition. It takes place every year, and they competed in Bristol, Lisbon, Edinburgh, Barcelona, and Madrid in the past. And our students went to Cyber Recorded Careers Fair, Advanced Engineering Show, and so on. And just very quickly want to show you the accreditation bodies that we hold our professional accreditations from. So I'm not going to go over them, just have a look at this slide. And I will hand over to Lorraine now to talk to you about entry requirements.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So we just wanted to highlight again GradLink, because we're talking about careers and employability. Although this service belongs to us, it was created by and belongs to UWE, it is used by many, in fact, most of the UK universities, and it's a way of linking students with job opportunities abroad. As well as in the UK, and I will leave you there to sort of read the sorts of things that the service offers. But you can see that we have different sites, GradLink UK, but also sites for Canada, for Gulf, for China, for India, for Africa, and we also have just recently launched GradLink Central and Eastern Europe as well. So it's a good resource, and it is a way of finding, connecting with employers, and also employers searching for students, and they are particularly looking for UK educated graduates. So moving on to entry requirements very quickly, just as an idea, I mean, if you do have any questions on this, post it in the chat, please, and tell us, which curriculum you're following. But if you are, for example, at a UK school following the UK curriculum, then we're after, just as examples, for BEng Aerospace, 112 UCAS tariff points. So an A star gives you 56 points, an A gives you 48, etc. If you are in the IB program, then we also equate that to UCAS tariff, so we're not going to ask you for your overall IB score, but again, the way you work out for each subject, if you get a higher 7, that's 56 points, a higher 6 is 48 points, and we will have specific requirements for a higher 5 in maths. If you're joining pretty much any of our engineering programs, then mathematics is one of the most important subjects to have. If you're more interested in the sciences, then we're going to be asking for higher in biology and or chemistry. And the way to apply for UK universities is through UCAS. You do one application to up to 5 universities, or 5 choices of course, or you can use agents and representatives in your country. I'm sure that's the same for Essex as well. So I'm going to leave it there and hand over to my colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. And we just got some questions in the chat regarding fees, because they vary per country's nationalities. Guys, that would be in the brochure shared with you. And if you cannot find the information, just I will make sure to share a link with you, okay? So just keep asking us in the chat everything that is not on the presentation, and we'll make sure that will reach you. And with this, I'm inviting Miguel, who will join us from Madrid on IE University presentation, and we're all ears. Hi, Miguel, welcome again. There are a lot of questions regarding robotics, so you definitely lighten that sparkle, and we'll continue in the Q&A elaborating on those. So thanks for the inspiration.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Svetlana. So hello, everyone. I think I didn't introduce myself before. My name is Miguel, and I'm the representative of iUniversity. So I'd like to go through a brief and quick presentation of the university I work for, and also some of the bachelors that we offer and studying opportunities. So please bear with me, and I hope you'll enjoy it. So the first thing I'd like you to know about iUniversity is to get an overall idea of our student population. And the first thing you should know is that IE is a very, very international university. 75% of our students are international. They come from outside Spain. In fact, over 45 different languages are spoken on campus, and we receive students from over 50 different educational systems. There are over, actually this number is outdated, there are over 130 different nationalities in the undergraduate student body. And approximately the total number of students has increased. Actually, number is also dated, is roughly 4,500 students. So IE is basically a mid-sized university, I guess, for European standards. In terms of gender distribution, a few more girls than boys, so 55% women and 45% men. Now, let's talk about the campuses. So IE University is located in Spain, in sunny Spain, actually, and we have two campuses, one in the city of Segovia and the other one in the city of Madrid. First, I mean, I'm sure many of you have already heard about Madrid, the capital of Spain, but I'm guessing that not many of you are familiar with the city of Segovia. And that's actually the one that I'd like to talk to you guys about. So the picture that you see here is the picture of our campus in Segovia. So it's a convent from the 13th century, which used to serve as a orphanage, as a hospital, and as a jail before it was fully renovated on the inside with some state-of-the-art facilities that I'll show you in just a bit. But it's a very historic building, and it's only one of the representations of how Segovia looks. So Segovia is a medieval city with a castle. It has an aqueduct that was built by the Romans, and it's actually a small-sized city. It's a great city when you start your studies to find a very cozy and small community. Like I said, 75% of our students are international or coming from abroad. Therefore, it's a great city to interact with many students who, just like you, are moving to a different country and want to interact and want to be with other people that are going through the same experience. So now let me show you some of the pictures of our Segovia campus. By the way, you're going to see that some of them are older, such as the one on the side. Some others are more recent, with with people with the masks on. We've been open and receiving students since September last year. We've been having a hybrid model, combining both online and face-to-face classes. I'll explain that in just a bit. But before that, I'd like to show you some of our facilities. So this is, for example, the communications lab. We have a TV and a radio set, which are the ones used by Televisión Española, which is the main national TV and radio channel in Spain. We also have what we call the Fab Lab, which is mostly used by our design and architecture students, where students can play with 3D printers and they can use, build their maquettes. And also it's a sort of creativity center, right? Now, I'd like to show you how one of our rooms looks like. Now, this is one of our classrooms in Segovia. So the first thing I want you to see is that this is the size of a classroom, right? So it doesn't get any bigger than this. We want our classes to be personalized. If you have any questions, you'll be able to ask our professors, for office hours, to ask them more in depth if there's something you didn't understand in the lectures. And the idea is that you participate and that you gather inputs from your classmates, which are going to be from all over the world. So there's a very rich international experience. Now, the second thing I want you to notice is that this picture was taken during COVID. So in fact, because it's quite sunny, I'm guessing it was probably the beginning of last academic year. So you see that there's plenty of health and safety measures. So everyone must wear a mask. Then these crosses that you see on the tables means that you can't sit there. Basically, you need to leave some space, to foster space between individuals. And also, you'll see on the left-hand side of the picture that there is a screen. In that screen, that's where you can see the faces of those students who are attending online. Now, students are free to choose whether they want to come face-to-face or online. But obviously, since we have such an international student body, not everyone was able to come on campus because of traveling restrictions, or maybe because they weren't feeling safe in taking a plane and coming to Spain. Now, moving on, here you see a nice combination of the teacher giving classes, face-to-face with the mask on, and then a student just following online. Like I said, this is the aqueduct that was built by the Romans, which is the main, the main building, characteristic building of Segovia. Beautiful city. If you ever come to Spain, I definitely recommend you to visit. And now let's go and move and talk a little bit about Madrid. So Madrid is a super vibrant and exciting city. It's one of the top capitals of Europe. We have over 300 days of sun a year, so it's a very, very sunny city, and you have plenty of museums, restaurants, concerts. Well, maybe concerts this year because of the pandemic, they're a bit more limited, but so many things to do. You never get bored in Madrid. And in fact, I'd like to show you what our new campus is going to look like. So up to now, we're based in the city center of Madrid. And now we're moving slightly a bit up north, but still within the city center of Madrid, to the financial district. And I'd like to show you some of the pictures of our future campus, which will be inaugurated in September this year. So it's going to be a vertical campus. There's very few of those. I think it's the third or fourth tallest building that is dedicated exclusively to education. So it's going to have a room for 6,000 students and over 50,000 square meters. If anyone thinks in feet, I'm sorry, I don't understand feet, so I can't translate, but you feel free to use Google for that. There will be plenty of green spaces. Once the pandemic allows it, the idea is even to organize concerts within the 7,000 square meters of green spaces. And also in the sort of hall that you see, there's another level. Basically, you'll have plenty of shops and restaurants that will be opening throughout the next year. So, like I said, it's right next to the other main 4 skyscrapers of Madrid, the financial district. The building has 35 stories and is 180 meters high. And here are some of the pictures of how the building is going to look like. So you can see plenty of areas inside the building to talk with our colleagues. We'll also have a multi-sport facility. So obviously conference rooms. This is not where you will have your lectures, but just for you to know, whenever there's an important speaker that comes on campus, we can host big conferences. And now I'd like to move on to our studies very briefly, because otherwise I'm going to run out of time. So very importantly, all our bachelors are fully taught in English. So no need for you guys to know a single word of Spanish before you come and study at a university. Now in Spain, most of the degrees are 4 years long, and that's the case for all the degrees at a university, except for the Bachelor in Architectural Studies, which is 5 years long. Now the advantage is that in many other countries, masters take 2 years to complete, whereas in Spain, it takes only 1 year. So then you have this 4+1 instead of 3+2 format. Okay. Now, something else I wanted to say, that the Bachelor in Applied Maths will be in September 2022. So if there's anyone who's still thinking of where he or she will be studying this upcoming fall, I'm unfortunately to say that the Bachelor in Applied Maths won't be ready yet. On top of that, we also offer some dual degrees, right? So you can combine 2 different degrees, and in only 5 years instead of 8, you can get 2 different diplomas. Now remember, each degree individually is 4 years long, and the 2 degrees then take 5 years to complete instead of 8. So also a great opportunity to expand your career options once you graduate. Now, moving on, we know there are students who are not, we're very good students, but they're not only learning machines. They also want to have a life outside of their classroom, right? So here are some of the activities that our students do, such as the IO Labs, which are some consulting projects that you can develop under the supervision of a professor and with the help of your classmates. So it's a project that you develop from 1 month to 6 months, and then you present it to a company. So great opportunity for first and second year students to have a project, to develop a project that has an impact in real life. Second, very importantly, mentoring and counseling. This comes at various levels. So first, psychological, in case you're having any issues, settling in Spain, or you're having a rough time adjusting. But also in terms of academics, in case you want to know which electives to choose, or which path you should follow. Language center, in case you want to learn another language, and the student office assessment to help you with your career options. Now, there's over 125 clubs, and this was the year before the pandemic. We had over 1,500 events. I think I have here, I didn't put the slide about some of the clubs, but these are related to sports, academics, also some that are more cultural. So if you have questions, I'll be happy to tell you more than in the Q&A part. The admissions process, very quickly, there's 5 steps. First, you need to fill out an online application and submit several documents. They're all listed in our website, which are CV, grades, a recommendation letter, and a personal statement. The second step is to take our admissions test. More information on that also on our website. No preparation needed. There's several parts where you will get tested your logical thinking ability, your logical reasoning, numerical reasoning as well, sorry, English level, amongst others. The third part is an online assessment where you will be asked a few questions to see how you can answer to some questions on the spot. The fourth one is a personal interview with one of the members of our admissions committee, and finally, a final decision from our admissions committee. And well, this is pretty much it. I have a few extra slides related to our STEM programs, but I think I've run a little bit over time. So if you have any questions, feel free to screenshot this slide. And without any further ado, I'll pass it on to one of my colleagues for the last presentation, individual presentation of the day.
Thanks so much, Miguel. That was a really, really good presentation. Tim is on the stage to talk to us about University of Essex. We are having questions on the chat. Jocelyn, who just joined, is asking what's the main theme. It is indeed studying STEM. So we are having 3 amazing universities talk to us about STEM programs in the UK and Spain. And we'll get back to your questions that haven't been answered right after. So Tim, the floor is yours. And thanks again, Miguel. And of course, Irene and Lorraine.
Awesome, thank you very much. So hello again, I'm Tim again from the University of Essex, and I'm going to be speaking to you a little bit about our institution today. I think my internet connection might be a little bit shaky, so apologies if I'm coming and going at the moment, but yes, we will continue. So the University of Essex is a university that's based in the United Kingdom. If you've ever been over to the UK before, you may be familiar with this map on the right. So this is the British Isles. The University of Essex is based in the southeast of the United Kingdom in England, just outside of London on the east-hand side. We're actually lucky enough to have 3 locations. So we have the location of Colchester, which is our oldest campus and our largest campus and home to the vast majority of our STEM degrees. We have our Southend campus, which is home really as a specialised campus for our business and dentistry courses, and then Loughton, which is our acting school. A wonderful thing about the University of Essex is that all of our campuses are within very easy striking distance of London. As you might be familiar with the UK, it's actually a very, very small country, so it's very easy to get around. Our Colchester campus is 45 minutes on the train from central London. Colchester is the UK's oldest recorded town, so again, it's a Roman town. So when the Romans had come over to the UK, they had started in Colchester. It was actually previously the capital for about 30 years, a long, long time ago, before Boudicca moved it over to London. So as a town itself, there's a lot of wonderful history and things to see. So it's got Roman fortifications around the town. It's got a castle, because everywhere in the UK has a castle. We enjoy some of the UK's best weather in Essex, although this might be slightly different from what Miguel has in Madrid. And we have a mix of beaches, cities, towns, and cute villages, as well as sort of countryside. So location of the university is incredibly important. Second thing that we're very proud of is our academic teaching and the facilities and courses which we offer to students. We have been ranked gold in the Teaching Excellence Framework. So this is the highest level that a university can achieve, and speaks volumes to our teaching and the ability of our academics. And we're also a very strong university in the field of research. So a top 25 for research quality in the UK. Traditionally, we've always been seen as particularly strong in the field of social sciences. However, in the past few years, we have been gaining increasing prominence in the STEM field as well. So we've just introduced our new 18 million STEM building. Actually, that's been there for now a couple of years, which is based on the Colchester campus. This is home to most of our STEM courses in the fields of electronic engineering, mechatronics, computer science, so applied psychology and computer science as well. So it's home to our life sciences laboratory, which has a number of wonderful facilities, our computer science, our robotics arena, and yeah, some wonderful facilities for our STEM students. And yeah, we offer a wide range of subjects in this field. I strongly encourage you to check out our prospectus, which has been included in the handout section, which will have a full list of all of the courses which we offer. Student life at the university is also wonderful. We're lucky enough to have a very vibrant sports scene at the university. We're particularly strong in the field of volleyball and basketball, so we have a sport arena on campus for these particular sports. We have around 15,000 students at our university, and just over 40% of these are from overseas. So we have a very international community, which really adds to a interesting mix of ideas when it comes to lectures and seminars and tutorials. We guarantee accommodation on campus for international students for their first year of study. We're seventh in the UK for spend on services and facilities per student, which is important because it really shows that the university cares about our student body, and we invest heavily in the academic, personal and professional development of our students. We are, the UK in general can be seen as a very cost-effective option. Now, degrees themselves are 3 years in duration. We have a wide range of scholarships available for students from all around the world. So, for example, for students from the European Union, we've introduced scholarships of 5,000 plus per year of study. And then we also have individual regional scholarships, which we offer for a given country. So should you want any more information about this, please feel free to reach out. Another great thing about UK Study is that they've reintroduced post-study work. So as of 2021, students will be able to stay in the UK for 2 years if they've completed a bachelor's or a master's degree, to live and work and stay at any level without the need for a graduate sponsor. The fifth reason why students should choose the University of Essex is our commitment to the employability of our student body. As I had mentioned before, pretty much all of our courses include employability modules within the course structure itself, and many of our STEM courses will offer the opportunities for students to spend a year in industry as part of their degree. We've got a wonderful career service on campus, which leads career events throughout the year. We have a STEM career events on campus, as well as networking opportunities, things like psychometric testing and CV and skills workshops, in order to further your employability skills. We've also got an amazing initiative which is known as Languages for All, which will allow for students to learn a language alongside their studies at no additional cost, and they can learn French, German, Spanish, Italian, Arabic, Mandarin, Chinese, amongst many others, which again adds to the employability of our student body. Finally, and my most favorite thing about working at the university is our global community. So we're actually fourth in the UK for our international outlook. And this is not just to mention our student body, which, as I mentioned before, over 40% of them are considered as overseas, but also the staff that we attract to our academics come from all around the world to teach at Essex. We also have a wide range of cultural and social activities on campus, so each nationality tends to have its own society, as well as the option to spend years overseas or a semester overseas as part of your degree structure. So we've got some wonderful partners in North and South America, in Australasia, again, a very popular choice for study abroad. Students also East Asia as well, so there are some fantastic programs in Japan and South Korea which teach English, which students can study abroad as part of their degree. That is everything from myself. Hopefully I've just kind of kept myself in time there. Now, thank you for all of the wonderful questions that you've been putting through the chat. Please feel free to reach out to me on my email there as well. And I shall pass back over.
Oh, wow, Tim, thank you so much. That was with the speed of sound presentation and wonderfully digested. Thank you so much for respecting the time. Everyone today, in fact, did, so we're super on time. And now that gives us time to read some of the questions that were not answered during the chat. So if I can have our dear presenters back to us, let me just find, that's it, okay. There's the slide, which now will say that we're at the Q&A. And the floor is everyone to ask questions that we haven't managed to answer. So let's see which one to read first. Okay. Luca just asked what would be the maximum of days student can be absent. That was during IE presentation. I don't know, Luca, if you want to tell us, was that a question for IE or for everyone? But let's start with Miguel, because I assume it was a question to him. Funny question to ask when you're not yet at the university, but fair enough.
So that's a general IE policy. So yes, there is a 70% attendance rule because of what I explained about what's important to participate in class and to gather insights from your classmates, professors. And yeah, I mean, even if you're attending online, in fact, at IE, the professor also sees through the Zoom chat who has been attending online. So you know, assistance, even if it's online, is mandatory at least to 70% of the classes. Otherwise, you will fail the class directly.
Okay, is there a different rule at UE and then Essex, perhaps?
Hi. Attendance policy is it might be linked to passing a module. So there may be modules which have a minimum attendance. For students who are studying in the UK, they're going to be on a visa. So there is also a policy for having to attend and progress because you're in the UK on a visa and you're here to study. At university, you have more flexible timetables, and there is a lot of work that you have to do in your own time outside of class. But obviously, your lecturers will get to know you. You will have seminar groups, so you may not be in big lectures, but you'll be in smaller groups. So if you're not turning up and you're not turning up on a regular basis, then your tutors, you'll have a personal academic tutor as well, but your tutors on your classes will be reaching out to you to try and find out, why you're not attending, because, attendance does, equal success as well. So it is important that you're following your studies. I mean, obviously a lot of things are done online now and it's recorded and you can watch things back afterwards. But yes, attendance is important.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lorraine. And I guess it will be very similar with team at Essex. So I will just move on to our next question. We're moving our questions to Q&A just to make sure they are structured. Can we start online and then transfer to in-person? Is a question from Cindy. And I understand that is not only a COVID question, but in general, can a student in general start their education online and then later on come on campus? Tim, you're back. Do you want to take that question?
Hello. I think I just caught the end of that question.
No worries.
No worries. It's relating to starting online
and going back to and doing campus afterwards, during or after COVID, and hopefully the after is soon.
Of course, yeah, we're hoping the same. Now, it's really dependent on a few factors in the UK. So things have been progressing quite successfully at the moment in terms of vaccine rollouts, and so many universities are hoping to be in the position where we'll be able to offer a more sort of normal on-campus experience. Obviously, there's a few things that may be a barrier towards this in terms of things like travel restrictions or the possibility of a new variant or resistance to the vaccine, these kind of things. I think what we will find, and not too many universities have kind of released their full plans because it's really a case of waiting and seeing. But I think similar to this year, the models now for dual learning and remote learning have been put in place by universities, and I believe that flexibility will be extended for this year. So for students who won't be able to make it onto campus for whatever reason, it's my guess at this point that flexibility is going to remain in place, but nothing has been sort of formally announced from the university side yet. I know that's a very woolly answer, but it's the best I've got at the moment.
Of course, and no one has a crystal ball, as I like to say often. Unfortunately, we also would love to go back in person and see everyone in person, but these are things that not only depend on us. I saw Miguel connected to share his perspective. I saw you also engaged on that question in the chat.
Yeah, so actually at a university, and I think in other universities in Spain, classes have been open since the last September. So then it's up to each university to to implement the safe and healthy protocols. So at least as far as I is concerned, in September, will you be able to study online and face to face? I think, I mean, the idea is going to be for you to start fully face to face. I'm guessing that with time, we will adapt our schedules to also complement it with some online classes. But hopefully by then the pandemic will have gone, but mostly because this is going to be the reality of work. We're going to be more and more used to mixing, working from home and going to the office. And it's a bit what we want to transmit as IE. So in the future, face-to-face classes definitely, because the experiential part is very important. But maybe a bit of a combination with online lectures or activities.
That's funny that you mentioned that we're used to, because I've been doing job interviews for like 10 years now, and I've noticed that to the question that I always ask, how do you prefer to reach out to people? In the last year, everyone has been saying, oh yeah, video conference, totally. And that's something that became so natural for us. So it will actually give a lot of advantage, and a lot of the programs will be adapted to it. But I think there's nothing better than the personal touch, and of course being in a lab, touching a machine. So the more that we can do in person, of course, the better. Lorraine, do you have anything to add to what Tim and Miguel shared?
No, I think it's the same really. We're putting in place plans, and we just have to wait for the government and to announce what we are and are not able to do. I mean, certainly for the students who are on very practical courses who need access to the labs, they are on campus and they have been able to access, our engineering students have been in their various labs, working with, hands-on, obviously with reduced numbers. And so we just have to wait and see what the situation is in September. And we've got a variety of plans depending on what the situation is.
That's great. And you're the professionals who will later take care of students transition to to the start of their education. So you're the right people. So here I'm going to ask my colleague Mitchell to just share your contact details in the chat. We will share them via email as well, but just to make sure that everyone has them. And I got a question from Eileen. I'm not sure which university that is for. Eileen is graduating in a month, and she's asking if it's possible to apply to your university now or take a gap year. So let me see if there is a university that Eileen is talking to. But let's talk a little bit about the admissions process differences between Spain and IE, and you guys in the UK via UCAS. So when would be the best time for a last year student to apply? We see students here from Europe, from Latin America, and the US. So some of you actually graduate in November or October. So when should a student start their application? Let's start with the UK first. You have UCAS, and then Miguel will tell us how it works with IE.
Would you like for me to take that one, Lorraine? Okay, cool. So the admissions process really starts a year ahead of the start date. For most universities, the start date is going to be September or October each year. There are some universities who offer January starts, but for the most part, it's the autumn. So applications are usually open a year ahead of the date which you intend to start. Now, there's a couple of deadlines which you might need to be aware of. The first is usually the middle of October, usually around the 15th of October. This is for Oxbridge applications, so you can either apply to Oxford or Cambridge. And for courses related to medicine, dentistry, and I believe veterinary medicine as well. That's the earliest deadline which students would need to adhere to, because they have separate admissions processes and external examinations and things which students are required to do. So it takes a little bit longer. The second deadline is known as the equal consideration deadline. So this is usually middle of January. I think it was the 14th of January this year. All applications received before this date need to be given equal weighting by admissions officers. Beyond this date, admissions officers don't need to take a look at these applications if they don't want to. Now, you'll find that whilst there are some universities who might close applications at that point, or particular courses that are very competitive, which might close at that point, most universities will continue to take applications, particularly international applications, throughout the remainder of the year. Now, one thing that you'll need to keep in mind is that with making an application, the earlier you do it, the easier it will be to apply for things like scholarships and accommodation, and ultimately your student visa as well. So nowadays you can make an application for a student visa 6 months in advance. But that's a long-winded way of saying, yes, applications are still open for most courses at a lot of universities in the UK. So yeah, do reach out to individual universities to check, but yeah, applications will remain open throughout the cycle.
That's some encouraging news, Lorraine.
I just wanted to add one thing, because I think some of the students may already be studying undergraduate degrees. So if you're thinking of applying for postgraduate courses, that's slightly different. You apply direct to the university, and most of us will have links on our web pages for each course, and you link directly to the application form. So again, those applications are open now. Traditionally, we see students start to think about postgraduate courses from around February. And certainly, as long as we still have spaces, one of the issues with STEM courses is that we have to make sure that students have that equal access to the laboratories and the facilities. So for us, for example, quite a lot of our courses are already closed, so it does vary. So certainly undergraduate courses, there are some that are closed because they are full. We are at capacity. We can't just, push more and more students into the limited space. Postgraduate courses, again, slightly different. That it will vary as to what's still open and still current, but you apply direct to the university for your postgraduate courses.
That's actually a great point, Lorraine. Thank you, because we do have some students who are planning to come for a postgraduate study or transfers. So once again, guys, we have the brochures shared with you in handouts. If there's any information you don't find, make sure to email our presenters. Miguel has a different process. It's directly with the university. So if you can go back again and briefly explain how that would work for international students.
Absolutely. So, I mean, before getting onto the process, if there's one idea I'd like to pick up from Timothy, is definitely that the earlier you apply, the better. So that is also a rule for a university. At IE, we have a rolling admissions process, which means that you can apply at any time. We usually open the admission process a year earlier, in the month of August or September, and you can apply anytime, but there's a limited amount of spots. So, for example, the other day I was emailed by admissions telling us that our Bachelor in Business Administration was already filled out and we would be opening a waiting list. So usually around the months of May or June already, we're going to start opening some waiting lists. Very quickly about the admissions process, you can do it through our website or through the Common App, if any one of you is thinking of applying to the US as well. Through our website, actually through Common App as well, there's 5 steps overall, but 3 steps. So the online application, then the admissions test, and finally an interview. So very summarized, that would be it. And everything is done online, so no need to come on campus for any part of the admissions process at all.
Yeah, you're actually one of the few Spanish universities in the Common App, so that's a great advantage for those of you applying through Common App. I do have a question to Irina. It's from Jocelyn, and if there's any online program course that you support or could recommend, because Jocelyn is currently studying her bachelor program. It was biomedical engineering, and she would like to continue her education abroad. So that's the question. Do you have anything to recommend?
So we at UW Bristol, we do have a few online courses, but unfortunately nothing for if she wants to pursue a career in biomedical sciences, then there's nothing available fully online. So for example, we have a few courses within the Faculty of Environment and Technologies, distance learning courses, and they have different entries. So you can have a September start or January start. It's real estate management course, which we run for attending students, but and also as a DL version, distance learning version, and real estate finance and investment. There's another course, leadership and urban leadership and planning, so also offered as a DL version. But unfortunately nothing for biomedical students. So yeah.
Okay, is there anyone who has an answer to that, or shall we just encourage Jocelyn to go through UCAS or other program course finders? Miguel, I saw you turn on.
Unfortunately, yeah, there's not much I can add to that, because we don't have any online programs at the undergraduate level and at the master's level. They're more related to business or to technology, or data and business analytics. So I think it's very far away from the field that Jocelyn was studying.
Okay, well, fair enough. At least we know what is available other than that. And then there is a question for Tim from Franco. Which are the application requirements for Essex? I think that's like a very generic question. And Franco, if you can just let us know where you're coming from and which program you're planning to apply for. Maybe Tim can indicate, maybe you can give us your diploma requirement or just drop an email, because that's a huge question. And I don't see any new questions coming through. Let me see if I've missed something. I don't. Well, there was a question earlier from Emil that was actually quite philosophical, but I would like to read it. Emil is asking on the. Naturally, this is a particularly related to the driver-free cars, in or other words, Tesla cars. People are afraid of the issues people are afraid of the issues of using those cars. How will these cars decide what should be their priority? Old men or young men, if they are on the same way, which will witness a car accident? Which one will be sacrificed by these cars? That's a lot of questions in one question. It's way beyond STEM. It is actually a very philosophical question that I really enjoyed thinking about myself. Lorraine, do you want to start first? And in the meantime, Franco gave some details, so I'll let Tim maybe answer in the chat to him, and we can elaborate Emil's questions in the meantime.
I think that is such, as you say, that is really quite a philosophical question as well, and way beyond anything that I think I could answer. I mean, it is a real dilemma, and I really don't know what the the people who are behind all that technology, how their thinking is going. I mean, you could have a whole evening of discussion on that topic, and it's just, yeah, I just think that's it would be quite an interesting thing to discuss. But yeah, I don't think that's at our level of
Yeah, I do have my personal opinion too. I mean, it's really, right now these cars have become a thing and everyone is talking about them. But when you think of all the accidents that humans have, like by being distracted, by being on their phone, there are so many more in comparison. So here it's really like what is being advertised and what is really skippable, what is really necessary to use and what is just a luxury. Again, more questions than answers, but I have Miguel's microphone on,
Yeah.
so I'll get rid of being on the spot.
So I wanted to sort of to get back to Emil. That's precisely why we don't have driverless cars yet, because there's no answer for that. And I was also thinking of another example where you use the use of big data can be controversial, which is when companies are hiring. Quite often they have this problem on how they receive tons and tons of applications, and they have problems filtering the CVs of their future employees. So the thing is, they've tried to resort. Many HR consultancy firms are trying to resort to some sort of automatic, programs or computers that can look for certain keywords or certain profiles, that would be a good fit of the role. Now, the problem they find out when trying this new technology is that quite often, especially for some managerial roles, most of the profiles that the companies had were males. Therefore, the computer would automatically rule out any females from accessing this type of jobs. So then the question is like, how can you ensure that these type of machines are not going to rule out on criteria that are sexist or racist or any sort of other criteria that you want to evade? So that's actually one of the other topics I'd say on top of cybersecurity that maybe I didn't mention in my part of the presentation, that will also be at the core of this fourth industrial revolution that we're going through.
Okay, I hope we satisfied part of Emil's.
There's no right answer, really.
There's no right answer, absolutely. Totally agree. And there was a question that just came through from Cindy. She's asking if you offer short courses that would help later with the application. There was earlier a question on GAP program. So what can you tell about pre-university program at your institution? If you could share a link, please. I know I have a summer school, for example. Most of you offer a gap year program for students who are coming from different educational systems. So what do you offer before bachelor? Who wants to go first? Go ahead, Lorraine.
Okay. So it really depends, what you want to do. We do have summer schools, so a 2-week summer school. We have a general sort of generic summer school, but we do also have subject specific ones. And again, they will vary each year. So I'm just about to post in the chat the link to our current international summer schools for students who want to come and maybe they don't meet our English language requirements. Then we have pre-sessional English courses that will help. By the end of the course, you should reach the required level to join whichever degree it is. For students who are applying for either our undergraduate degrees or postgraduate degrees, we do have a 2-week, it's called ELAC, English Language and Academic Culture. So it's a 2-week course which is designed to help students get into the swing of things, get into the UK way of doing things. So there is a bit of English language if you need it, but lots of input on academic culture and how it may differ from what you may have experienced from school. And you won't be the only ones, because it's also very different from how you're taught at school in the UK to what's expected of you at university in the UK. So everyone's sort of coming to terms with the differences and what's expected. So there is that offer as well for students, so that there's quite a lot of things depending on what you may be interested in.
We have actually fewer than that at the University of Essex. We do have a few specialised summer schools, which I'll just post into the chat now. We do offer sort of pre-sessional English courses as well for students who are looking to increase their English language competency or get up to the required IELTS level for their course. But yeah, fairly limited offering from our side for sort of summer and pre-study study.
Thank you, Tim. And I'll come back to you in a moment with Franco's question. Now I got the full picture. And Miguel, you wanted to add for IE?
Yes, for the summer school. So yes, we also have a summer school. It's going to be taking place the 2nd and 3rd week of July. It's offered in both formats, online or face-to-face. There's a big difference in price with one and the other. Obviously, online is going to be cheaper, but the idea is that students can choose from a wide array of different tracks, depending on what is their preferred field of studies. So we'll have one business track, one tech and data track, another one based on architecture and design. So I think there's up to 5 in total. And yeah, so it is that you could come to Spain for 2 weeks and spend some time in our Segovia and Madrid campus, or choose follow like the academic lectures fully online.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And that's the last question. We've been here for almost an hour and a half. So everyone who's joining us from Europe, especially like Georgia, Azerbaijan, guys, thank you so much for your dedication. Really, I mean, it's really late for you, and we're really appreciating your curiosity. So, team. Franco is from Argentina. He's at an international school in British curriculum, from what I can see. He's graduating this year, so he would like to study physics. And the question is, what would be the entry requirements at Essex? Just have to unmute here. Yeah.
Fair enough. Sorry. So first of all, I'll have to disappoint in that we no longer offer physics courses at the University of Essex. So it's not something which we'd be able to assist with. That said, if you're on the English curriculum and you're going to be taking A levels, it'll vary amongst UK universities. I think for physics courses, you can expect an offer anywhere from 2 Bs and a C to an A star and 2 As, perhaps slightly higher if you're looking at Oxbridge. Similarly, if you're on an IB program, you might be looking at between a 26 to a 28 at the lower end, all the way up to a 30, 38, perhaps higher. It does vary. I'd recommend going onto the UCAS website, because beyond being the application portal for the UK, it's really the best place to gain information for like a wide range of universities. And it's got a really good chat search function. So you can, a course search function. So you can type in physics or a given area of physics, like astrophysics or whatever it might be, and it will come up with a long list of the universities that offer it, their entry requirements, course structures, contacts, etc. So that would be my advice to you, Franco. And sorry that I can't be of more help.
No, that's actually helpful enough, and UCAS is indeed great source for information. And with this, I believe we have answered everyone's question, which is fantastic. We had a wonderful audience today from all over, and thank you so much, Irina, Miguel, Lorraine, and team for your time. We started so well with the presentation on STEM. I loved how you work together on it. Learning more about your universities is always fun when it comes to different faculties. All four of you actually will be back with us in a month and a half on international relations webinar. So I'm really excited to have you back with us. And in the meantime, I wish everyone to stay safe. To stay curious, of course, and we hope to see you at another SRT webinar very soon. Thank you so much for everyone's time, and take care.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good evening or day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.